Hey, good morning, guys. It's a little bit after 8 and it's a nice balmy 77 degrees here in Arizona. For today's adventure, I thought I would head out and go see the Biosphere. I've always wanted to see it, and I actually forgot that it is here in Arizona. So I want to go out there and check out Biosphere 2. It is open for touring and is still a current research facility. It's just not being used for research for its intended purposes. If you guys don't know, or if you remember, Biosphere 2 was constructed and was around from, I think, 1991 to 1993 was the first 2-year experiment. And then they did another short one, I think for 6 months in 94 before they actually shut down the whole project. The whole purpose behind building Biosphere 2 was to try and recreate the Earth's atmosphere, which they consider Biosphere 1, right? So, and to see what we could recreate to make food and everything sustainable on another planet. If we wanted to put people on the moon to live, make a colony on the moon, in Mars, anywhere. And unfortunately, that project failed, right? The main reason it failed is it could not sustain life because they could not balance the oxygen and the carbon dioxide levels. So with that, we had problems, they had problems with plant life, the animal life, and there were other challenges as well, trying to live on the food that they had. In the beginning, their nutrition was not what it was. They lost like 16% of their body weight in the first year, and then they started to gain it back. But from a nutritional standpoint, the type of diet they had, which was mainly vegetarian, was not enough to really nutritionally, they couldn't figure it out. I think towards the end, the weight stabilized, they were able to figure it out, but still from a nutritional standpoint, it wasn't what they had hoped for. But like I said, ultimately it was not being able to balance out the oxygen, right? And as humans and plant life, we need oxygen to live. So with that little bit of insight into the Biosphere 2, is it really worth a stop on your way in Arizona to drive? It's on your way to Tucson, but it's like out in the middle of nowhere, right? So from where I live here in the valley, it's going to take me an hour and a half. And I want to see, is this something as a journey I can recommend that if you come to Arizona, should this be a stop for you? Well, join me and I will bring you back as we get closer. Like I said, it is an hour and a half drive, so there's a lot of desert highway we're going to go through. But when we get closer, I'll bring you back. And right now I'm going to get ready to pick up my order at Starbucks, and then I will bring you back when we get closer. Talk to you soon. Welcome back. We just turned into the road that takes us up to the Biosphere, and we're getting ready to go through the front entranceway right here. And I did slow down because I thought I might have to grab a ticket, but it was just instructions on what to do in case this gate was closed. So we're just going to continue driving up. I think we should be there shortly, and then I will come back and join you guys once we park the car. So here we are walking up to go in and pay for our tickets for entry. So you'll see throughout the video, maybe it captures, I'm not sure, but these red arrows are what you follow to the next site, and then the blue arrows take you out. So once you go through the lobby, the start of the tour is this first scenic overlook. So this overlook used to be a Native American hunting ground, and over the course of 150 years, it's had multiple owners. And within the property, the history of each owner, or the various owners, as you can find the history on them, is preserved throughout the Biosphere. This little seating area here, I'm sure, is for folks that stay here as guests. You can spend the night at the Biosphere, and so I'm sure folks come out here to capture this view, whether in the morning or evening, or just to walk around at their leisure and then take some relaxation. This next viewpoint, I just was fascinated by the landscape. I just found it very beautiful. The sky, the formations. I stood here for quite a while just enjoying it before heading down to capture this overall picture of the structure where the ocean, the trees, and the living quarters are. So that was a tour group in front of us, and I heard the tour guide mention that this is actually a solar tree, and the tree is used to capture energy to power the residences on the research site. So I've never seen one of those, and I thought that was quite interesting. So from here, we will continue walking down and go into the human habitat to where the first stop was the kitchen. So the kitchen here is preserved just like it was when they would cook their foods. And it goes into, right next to it are the living quarters. Now the stairs go up to where their sleeping quarters are and up to a library. But the library being the highest point of the biosphere, with the heat here in the desert, they said it was very rarely used because it was just too hot. So there was their uniform. They wore uniforms on site, which I found interesting. And then from here, there were multiple places and things to see, a theater and all that. But I went through kind of quickly and came out here to where the forests were recreated. So they had to grow their own food. So the first one, it showed where they grew coffee, they grew agave, they grew some fruit. And I think in this one too, they had the fruit and they had cactus or cacti. And then moving forward, it was then this was the tropical forest, I believe, because I remember the staircase here, this was very, very humid and extremely warm. I mean, when you walked in, it was like being hit with a wet heat wave. But it smelled very good in here, and it was just very peaceful, although very hot. So as I pan around here, these are the stairs that will take you out. But at this point, I felt like I was I was just overwhelmed with the heat. It was very warm. But then the temperature changed as you walked out here. There was a huge fan when you walk out. And this is the simulated ocean, or the ocean they built here in the biosphere. It's got 700,000 gallons of water. There are no fish in it, but they do still have the coral. And they're studying things like how do they stop the mold on the coral, or how do they stop the ecosystem, or what's going on in here to keep the coral alive, as that is something we're struggling in our oceans today, that a lot of our coral reefs are dying off. So just the sound of the water and the change in temperature was very enjoyable here. And then when you walk out of here, you go into the rainforest. And this was very peaceful out here. The wind was very cool, and it smelled like rain in here, of course, naturally the rainforest. But this rock structure in the back, I just found it so beautiful to look at that I actually kind of stood in here for a little while after I shot this little bit of footage, and I just kind of stood here, and I actually took a picture of this because I would like to keep that and do something with it or frame it. And then from here, the tour was over. Okay, so we finished the tour of the Biosphere 2, and I actually enjoyed it. So if I have to address the question in the beginning, is this worth a stop on your things to do when you come to Arizona? Absolutely. I think this would be a great experience for kids, educational wise, especially the learning you get from science, and as well as for adults, just to understand what's going on in our environment today and what the objective was for this project in the beginning, right? Was to try and recreate Earth's environment in case we wanted to move folks to live on another planet, right? Whether that be the moon or Mars, like I said earlier. But did the research meet the intent of the experience of the project? No. So from that perspective, it was a failure. But was it really? Because I have to ask myself, if we've learned from that, now with the facility being managed by the University of Arizona, and the research that's being done is how do we preserve the environment today, right? How do we address things like climate change using the simulated ocean floor they built in the biosphere that didn't contain any fish, it only contained coral, right? How do we learn and grow from that experience to say, how do we preserve the coral reefs, right? Because they're all dying off in our ocean. I think the Great Barrier Reef is the last one left. So how do we preserve that? How do we keep what's changing in our environment from killing off the natural plant life, our natural ecosystem? So from that, I think that is a plus. Leaving behind that research, or learning from that and applying that to, instead of how do we live differently on another planet, but how do we apply that to today to preserve and sustain life on this planet, not only for today, but for generations to come. So from that perspective, I look at that as not so much as a failure, maybe a lessons learned that you can apply to today's science. So anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm glad you guys came along with me. But before I totally close out the video, I do want to share some insights, and that is, the tour is a self-guided tour. So they say it's about 70 minutes, and I took like an hour and a half, so it didn't take that long to get through it. Bring good walking shoes, because the tour is walking. You're walking both inside, outside. There are some stairs. So you're doing a lot of walking. Bring bottled water, because the heat here in Arizona, although for locals, 70, 80 is not really hot, but if you're not used to that kind of weather and walking in it, it can put a taxing on your system, as well as on the inside of the biosphere. The environment's meant to mimic, like the rainforest, the tropical forest, and the tropical forest, it is really steamy in there. It's very humid. And I mean, you actually start to break out in a sweat as you go through there, and then you try to get through there faster and it just makes it worse. But you will need to hydrate. Wear loose clothing or layered clothing, because being in and out, going from the different temperatures, it can impact or affect some folks, okay? Because the guided tour, you download the app to your phone or your iPad, whatever device you bring with you, you do need some AirPods or earbuds, right? There are some folks that didn't, and they played their phone on speaker, which that happens. But if you really want to take in the experience and you want to listen to just the tour at your space and not have a lot of and you don't want a lot of outside interference, I recommend the earbuds or AirPods. Other than that, I think the only other recommendation I would give is, like myself, I wanted to really enjoy it and not be too crowded, especially since I would be filming. But I recommend coming when they first open, because it is cooler, especially if you come in the summer. You will hit the morning temperatures when they're kind of in the 80s, but it can be a little bit warmer. But in the afternoon, it's going to be over 100, and walking in and out, it will make you tired, and you'll be very, very hot. Now, if you do forget bottled water, there is a gift shop and you can buy water. But overall, it's a great experience. Just remember water, earbuds, AirPod, walking shoes, and sunglasses. I recommend, because you're going in and out and it is bright. And enjoy. So with all said and done, again, this is worth the stop. Please like and subscribe and give me a thumbs up. And don't forget to click the little bell for notifications when I upload my next video. So until then, I'll see you guys at our next adventure or campsite. So take care, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.